Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a close look at something foundational, but maybe a bit invisible, the global electrical substation market.
That's right. Often overlooked.
Exactly. We'll be digging into the Global Electrical Substation Market Report 2021-2033. We want to pull out the key insights for you
Help you understand where the global energy grid is heading.
and why this, seemingly niche area is actually pretty critical for your daily life.
Hmm.
You might not think about electrical substations much, right? But these unsung heroes of our power grids, well, they're seeing massive growth.
And the numbers in this latest report are, frankly, quite remarkable.
Yeah.
What's really fascinating here, I think, is that the growth isn't just about, providing more electricity.
Yeah.
It's really about building smarter, more resilient grids. It's about seamlessly integrating all these new renewable energy sources.
Solar, wind, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And, connecting the dots to meet the energy demands of the future, which are just escalating.
So these substations, they're like the junctions.
Yeah, pretty much. Think of them as the crucial junctions and transformers on our energy highways. They step up power so it can travel long distances efficiently.
Right.
And then they step it back down so it's safe for delivery, right, to, your homes and businesses.
Okay.
Without them, the whole system, well, it grinds to a halt. They manage the flow, ensure stability, efficiency. They're critical nodes.
And the scale of this,
Yeah.
it's huge. The report says back in 2021, the global market was already pulling in revenues near $110 billion.
Yeah, just under 110 billion. That's significant.
And it's projected to climb, right,
Yeah.
to over $131 billion by 2025.
Mm-hmm.
And then soaring to nearly $190 billion by 2033.
That's a solid compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, about 4.6% over that whole period.
So what does that really tell us, this significant, consistent expansion?
Well, it signals a global commitment, not just to expand energy infrastructure, but to seriously modernize it.
Good.
And this growth, it's driven by a few key things happening worldwide. First, just that relentless increase in energy demand, especially, in developing economies.
Makes sense.
Second, that huge global shift towards renewables, solar, wind. They need new, often smarter, substations to handle their variability and feed into the grid smoothly.
Okay.
And third, there's a big push just to upgrade aging infrastructure, making the grid more reliable, often using new tech like digital substations.
With fiber optics and sensors?
Exactly, for better efficiency. Those are sort of the big currents pushing those billions of dollars.
Okay, let's unpack some of those currents, maybe region by region, starting with North America.
Sure. North America is a major player. Its market's projected to grow from just under $21 billion in 2021
Right.
to over $34 billion by 2033. That's a solid CAGR, around 4.3%.
And breaking that down, the U.S. market is obviously big, going from nearly $16 billion up to about $25 billion.
Yeah, a steady growth there.
But Canada seems to stand out a bit in the numbers.
Canada is definitely leading the pack in North America growth-wise. Its market is set to almost double. We're talking roughly $3.1 billion up to almost $5.8 billion.
Wow.
That's a strong 5.3% CAGR.
Why so high for Canada, relatively speaking?
Well, it reflects, I think, their significant investments, not just integrating large-scale hydro projects, which they have a lot of,
Right.
but also really modernizing their grid, getting it ready for a cleaner energy mix and supporting new industrial demands. It's quite proactive.
And Mexico.
Mexico is also expanding. Projected growth from about $1.9 billion to $3.5 billion there. A bit slower, maybe around 3.9% CAGR, but still growing.
Okay, so North America is steadily building, modernizing, integrating renewables. How does that stack up against Europe? Things seem maybe a bit more varied there.
Yeah, Europe's market is also seeing really robust growth. It's going from nearly $18 billion in 2021 to over $29 billion by 2033, so a CAGR of about 4.4%.
Pretty similar overall growth rate to North America then.
Overall, yes.
Yeah.
But Europe's story, as you said, it's definitely more varied. It reflects, really diverse national energy policies and investment priorities.
Like the UK, their numbers look strong.
Very strong. The UK market value is set to nearly double, from $2.7 billion up to over $5.2 billion. That's a 5.5% CAGR, the highest we see specified for any single European country here.
Interesting. What about the big economies like Germany and France?
Also, solid expansion. Germany goes from about $4.4 billion to $7.3 billion. That's around 4.1% CAGR. France, a bit slower at 3.9%, moving from $2.6 billion to $4.1 billion.
And there are others listed too: Italy, Russia, Spain.
Right. Italy around 3.7%, Russia similar, Spain a bit lower at 3.5%. Then you have Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, even Luxembourg, all showing growth, but at different rates.
But the really eye-catching one was the rest of Europe.
Absolutely. That segment has a surprisingly high CAGR, almost 7.9%.
Wow.
It's accelerating its market from $1.4 billion to over $3.1 billion. This really points to a rapid expansion in maybe less discussed but quickly developing energy markets on the continent.
Could be new EU grid connections,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe emerging renewable projects.
Could be both. Definitely signals significant activity beyond the major established players.
Fascinating. Okay, shifting east now, Asia Pacific. This region is just the dominant force globally, isn't it?
Oh, without a doubt. The scale is huge. It's projected to grow from an already massive $49.5 billion in 2021.
Almost $50 billion to start with.
Exactly. Growing to a colossal $83 billion by 2033 and maintaining a strong 4.5% CAGR throughout.
It's hard to really picture the scale of infrastructure development happening there.
Mm.
And that impacts you, the listener, right through global supply chains, economic trends.
Absolutely. And the drivers are clear. Explosive urbanization, industrialization. Look at China.
Yeah.
China's market alone is set to grow from nearly $20 billion to $34 billion.
Yeah.
It's a massive number.
And India looked like very strong growth there, too.
India is showing particularly strong growth. Its substation market is projected to almost double from $6.5 billion to $12.3 billion.
And the CAGR.
That's the highest in Asia Pacific, 5.4%. It really speaks volumes about their accelerated electrification efforts.
Bringing power to more people, unlocking economic potential.
Exactly. Japan is also a significant contributor, going from $6.8 billion to over $10.4 billion.
And then there's South Korea, Australia, Singapore.
Right. South Korea around 4.1% CAGR, Australia a bit slower at 3.3%, Singapore at 3.8%. Plus, Southeast Asia as a bloc is growing fast at 4.8%, and Taiwan at nearly 3.7%. They all add up significantly.
Okay, so Asia Pacific is the giant. Let's move our focus now to South America. What's the picture there?
South America shows notable growth, too. We're looking at $7.2 billion in 2021, growing to over $11 billion by 2033. That's about a 3.9% CAGR overall.
And within the region.
Brazil's leading the charge there. Its market's growing from $3.3 billion to $5.4 billion, a solid 4.2% CAGR.
Okay.
Argentina and Colombia are also seeing strong growth, both around 4% CAGR, Chile slightly higher at 3.6%.
But the rest of South America seemed, well, slower.
Yeah, interestingly, that segment shows more modest growth, only about 1.3% CAGR, growing from around $0.4 billion to maybe $0.45 billion.
So that does raise a question, doesn't it? What are the unique challenges or opportunities in South America? Maybe vast distances, geography, specific resource developments?
Exactly. Some things influencing those varied rates across the continent. It could be financing, policy, grid integration challenges, lots of potential factors.
A crucial point about those regional nuances.
Okay.
Next up, the Middle East. This region looked like it had accelerated growth.
It does. It's projected to grow from $7.3 billion in 2021 to over $13.5 billion by 2033. And that's a robust 5.2% CAGR.
Which is notably higher than the global average.
Correct. And this expansion really seems tied to the region's big development plans, diversifying economies beyond oil.
Powering new megacities, industrial hubs.
Precisely. Looking at the contributors, Saudi Arabia is a major player, set to grow from nearly $2.6 billion to almost $5 billion. That's a strong 5.5% CAGR.
But the UAE stood out even more, didn't it?
It did. The UAE shows particularly impressive growth. It has the highest CAGR in the Middle East at 5.8%, expanding its market from $1.1 billion to over $2.1 billion.
Reflecting those big investments in smart cities, renewables perhaps.
I think so, yes. Aggressive investments there. And we also see Turkey, Egypt, and Qatar demonstrating significant expansion, too.
Turkey around 4.9% CAGR.
Yeah.
Egypt just over 5%. Qatar almost 5.3%.
Right. It all paints a picture of a region pushing hard on infrastructure development and modernization to support their growing populations and economies.
Okay, and finally, Africa. This continent seems to be a real hotspot for growth in this market.
Absolutely. Africa has one of the highest regional KGRs globally, an impressive 6.5%.
Wow.
growing its market from $7.1 billion in 2021 to a substantial $16.6 billion by 2033. That's more than doubling the market size.
That's incredible growth. Which countries are driving that?
Well, Nigeria is a big one, set to climb from $3.3 billion to $7.6 billion. That's 6.4% AGR. South Africa also contributes significantly, moving from $2.6 billion to $5.8 billion, about 6.3% CAGR.
Very strong numbers.
But what's truly striking, I think, is the rest of Africa segment.
Wow.
This subregion shows the highest AGR across all the subregions we've looked at in this report, a staggering 7.1%.
7.1%.
Yeah. Growing from $1.2 billion to over $3.2 billion. If you connect that to the bigger picture...
Massive potential.
Right. The rapid growth in Africa, especially in that rest of Africa part, it just underscores the massive potential for energy infrastructure development, for electrification efforts across the continent.
Bringing power to communities that didn't have it before.
Fundamentally changing daily lives, unlocking economic opportunities. These numbers represent really significant strides.
So after touring the globe, what's the big takeaway here?
Well, the electrical substation market is clearly experiencing steady, significant growth everywhere.
Yeah, globally. Asia-Pacific dominates in sheer size, no doubt.
Yeah.
But regions like Africa and the Middle East are presenting really lucrative, very rapid growth opportunities as they build out. We're talking, what, a global market starting near $110 billion in 2021?
And on track for almost $190 billion by 2033.
It's this foundational industry kind of quietly powering our progress. These numbers represent real, tangible investments in our collective energy future.
And I think this raises an important question, maybe for you, the listener, to ponder.
Okay.
As global energy demands keep rising and as we integrate more and more renewables, how will this silent, steady expansion and modernization of electrical substations actually shape the future of our power grids?
Right.
And maybe more personally, what might that mean for your energy security and access in the coming decades?
Definitely something to think about next time you flick a light switch or charge your phone. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the unseen infrastructure that powers your daily life.
You know, every single day you plug in your phone, your lights flick on, factories are running, businesses are crunching data all over the world, and all of that, it really hinges on something pretty fundamental, but mostly invisible, the electrical substation. But these aren't just, static boxes with wires and transformers. No, they're actually dynamic, critical hubs. And they're actively shaping our whole energy future. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're jumping headfirst into the evolving world of electrical substations. Our goal here is really to unpack the big forces driving huge changes in these, essential parts of our power grid. We want you to see why things like global demand, new tech, and those big clean energy goals are making substations a really hot topic right now. Because they're not just dots on a map, are they? They're the absolute bedrock of our modern power infrastructure. They manage the flow, sure, but they also guarantee that stable, uninterrupted supply we all rely on for homes, for industry, everything. Okay, so let's dig in. What's really behind this huge, ever-growing global demand for electricity that we keep hearing about? What's pushing it?
Well, it's coming from a few angles, really. I mean, at the core, you've got, more people moving into cities, rapid urban expansion, and just a growing industrial base globally. But what's really changing the game, I think, is the digital transformation. It's not just that we have more devices, it's the way they use power. Think about AI data centers. They need constant, massive amounts of energy. Or electric vehicle fast charging. You get these huge, sudden spikes in demand. This isn't just adding more load. It's fundamentally changing the patterns. It puts new kinds of stress on the grid, on the substations. And that's really pushing governments, private companies too, to invest and invest heavily in strengthening their power networks.
That's a really important point. It's not just more power, it's different power demands. Like spikier, maybe.
Exactly. Less predictable in some ways, much higher peaks in others.
Okay. And speaking of different, it strikes me that this isn't just about building shiny new substations out in fields somewhere. It's maybe even more about dealing with the old stuff, right? How are developed countries, say North America, Europe, tackling their aging infrastructure?
You're absolutely right. That's a huge piece of the puzzle. In those regions, there's a massive push to upgrade legacy substations. And the goal isn't just, catching them up. It's full-on modernization. They want better reliability, fewer outages, and they want to bring in advanced automation. The real leap forward here is digital tech. We're talking real-time monitoring, smart load balancing, even predicting failures before they happen, predictive maintenance.
Giving them a brain, essentially.
Yeah, precisely. It's like giving these substations a nervous system and a brain. But it's complex. The challenge isn't just plugging in new boxes. It's getting, say, decades-old equipment to talk to brand-new digital controls. That often takes very specialized skills. And sometimes you run into issues with materials, components that might be hard to source, geopolitically sensitive even. But getting this right is absolutely vital for boosting the efficiency of the entire grid.
Wow. So, yeah, less a facelift, more a brain transplant.
Okay.
So that leads right into probably the most interesting part for our energy future. How are these evolving substations handling the green energy revolution? Because renewable energy, solar, wind, that's a totally different ballgame compared to old school power plants, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's a fundamental shift. Substations are becoming these crucial go-betweens. They're the interface connecting decentralized sources like solar farms and wind turbines to the main grid. And renewables are inherently variable, right? The sun doesn't always shine, the wind doesn't always blow at the same speed. So the substations have to manage those fluctuations. They need to stabilize the voltage, the frequency, keep everything balanced.
Otherwise, things get unstable.
Very unstable. Without sophisticated substation control, you could face grid instability, power quality problems locally. This is where systems like SCADA, that's supervisory control, and the data acquisition become absolutely essential for managing things in real time within the substation. And yeah, this whole dynamic is leading to new substations popping up in places you might not expect. Huge wind farms, miles from anywhere, need them to push power to cities. But you also see them needed for, say, urban solar projects. It's all part of building a cleaner and hopefully more resilient grid.
Right. It really highlights just how critical they are for keeping the lights on reliably as we switch to green energy. But look, this kind of massive evolution, it's never simple. It can't be smooth sailing all the way. What are the biggest roadblocks, the main hurdles you see standing in the way of this transformation?
Yeah, you're right to ask that. There are definitely significant obstacles. First off, the cost. The capital investment is just huge. Building new substations or even doing these major upgrades requires massive spending on advanced gear, on highly skilled workers, and often acquiring the land itself is very expensive. And it's not just the sticker price, it's the hidden costs, the complexities of integrating old and new tech, finding those specialized components. Projects can easily run over budget, fall behind schedule.
And that must hit developing countries harder.
Absolutely. For countries with tighter budgets, these high costs are a major barrier. It can really slow down how quickly they can expand or modernize their grids. Then there's the whole issue of land and the environment. Finding a suitable spot for a substation isn't easy. You often get pushback from local communities, the whole not in my backyard thing. Plus, you need really thorough environmental assessments, just navigating the zoning laws, addressing ecological concerns. That can add significant delays.
Yeah.
Years sometimes.
Wow, years.
Yeah. And layered on top of all that, you have complex regulations. Permitting rules vary wildly depending on where you are, different regions, different countries. Getting approval for a new substation can be a really long, drawn-out, and expensive process. Lots of hoops to jump through.
Okay, so it sounds like a real tangle of challenges, technical, financial, regulatory, even social. But despite all those hurdles, there must be exciting things happening too. What are some of the emerging trends that are actually pushing things forward, giving us reason for optimism?
Oh, definitely. There are some really exciting developments. One of the biggest is the shift towards digital and smart substations. These aren't just handling power flow, they're information hubs. They use IoT sensors, AI for analytics, cloud platforms, all to get real-time data and even predict what's going to happen.
Predict. How so?
Well, they can detect tiny anomalies that might signal a future fault, allowing for proactive maintenance. Some systems use digital twins, virtual copies of the grid, to simulate scenarios. It means that they can manage energy distribution much more smoothly, even when dealing with fluctuating renewable energy or sudden demand spikes. It's all about building a grid that can respond, that's resilient.
Okay, that sounds genuinely smart. What else?
Another huge driver is supporting electric vehicles, EV infrastructure. As more EVs hit the road, the demand for fast charging grows enormously. So existing substations near highways or in city centers are being beefed up, re-engineered, or entirely new ones are being built just to handle that extra, very demanding load.
Right, you need a lot of juice quickly for fast charging.
Exactly. And then there's also a really interesting trend towards modular substations. Think of them as like prefabricated substation units. They're built in a factory, they're compact, and they can be installed much faster on site.
Ah, so quicker deployment.
Much quicker. And they need less space. This makes them ideal for remote locations, maybe for a new wind farm, or even for temporary power needs. Easier to transport, less on-site labor needed. It's quite clever.
So if we try and sort of pull this all together,
Yeah.
it sounds like the world of electrical substations is changing incredibly fast, driven by, well, more power demand everywhere, these big clean energy targets we have, and just relentless digital innovation, right?
That sums it up well.
And yeah, the challenges are real costs, land, regulations, they're substantial. But it also seems clear the path forward is packed with opportunities, especially for those ready to embrace these future-ready energy systems.
Absolutely. And maybe that leaves us with a final thought, something for you, the listener, to ponder. This power infrastructure, it seems invisible most of the time, doesn't it? But these evolving substations, they're quietly, quite literally under our feet sometimes, laying the groundwork. They're building a foundation for a future that's more resilient, more sustainable, and much more connected. So the question is, what happens next? What completely new ways of managing energy, maybe even creating it, might emerge when these huge networks finally become truly smart, when they start anticipating what we need before we even know it ourselves?